ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय Ramakrishnaय te Namaha. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of Bhagavad Gita. We are going to now study the 26th and 27th verse of the second chapter. We may also revise a little from the 25th verse too. Please note that the live chat has been enabled for this video. If you have any questions relating to this discourse, please type it in the live chat and I will try to respond to them at the end of today's discourse or next week's discourse. Thank you. We shall now, before going to the proper Bhagavad Gita, we will chant one verse from the meditation of Bhagavad Gita. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanooramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. We shall now chant the 25th verse and then go to immediately to 26th verse after revising it a little so that we need connectivity. The 25th verse is Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Blessed Lord said to Arjuna, Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam tasmadevam viditvainam nanushositumarhasi. This is said to be unmanifest. This is inconceivable. Now Lord Krishna is speaking about our true nature, that is the Atman which is within us, that is about us. This means the Atman, that is we, all of us. We are said to be unmanifest. The Atman is inconceivable. This Atman is unchangeable. Therefore, knowing this as such, you should not grieve. So, everywhere we can see Krishna repeating this word again and again. Nanu shochitum arhasi. You should not grieve. You should not grieve. So do not worry. So that is repeatedly being told by Lord Krishna. So, from verse, that is the present verse is the 25th verse. So this verse sums up the philosophical statements made from the verse 11. You may not understand what is this philosophical statement, but it is the nature of Atman. Lord Krishna was telling about nature of our own reality, that is God or Parabrahma Swarupa, or the Lord who is within your heart. So let us call by the name Atman. So now in this verse 25, Lord Krishna sums up the philosophical statement or sums up the nature of Atman, the characteristic of Atman, from which you can from 11th verse to 11:25, if you take up and then if you meditate on that, that is as good as meditation on yourself, that is Atman. Atma Swarupa, the meditation on Atman. Lord Krishna himself, the Lord himself is telling the nature of Atman. So that's why I have come back to verse 25, because that is the summing up. So in this verse 25, from verse 11, in the second chapter, Lord Krishna sums up the nature of Atman. The self, that is the Atman, that is you, is unmanifest, inconceivable. and unchangeable. Senses can only perceive that which are manifest. The self is unmanifest. Senses can perceive the world but never the Atman. Similarly, the intellect can conceive the world but cannot conceive the self. That is Atman. The world is the object of conception. The self is the subject enabling the intellect to conceive the world. The Atman is like the weaver. How is he? He's just like the weaver observing the landscape through a telescope. The telescope is an instrument through which the weaver sees everything but himself. Likewise, the self cannot be conceived by the intellect because intellect is an instrument by which the self is perceiving everything outside. So, the self itself, the Atman itself is inconceivable. Now, this verse also describes the Atman or self as unchangeable, immutable. That is called the immutable means unchangeable. This property draws a distinction between the Atman and the vasanas. What are vasanas? The deep desires, the desires in the seed form, in the unmanifest form. The desires in the seed form is called vasana. Now, you have understood what is vasana? Deep desires in the vasa, in the bija rupa, in the seed form. So they are, let us take it as desires, intense desires of ours. Okay. So there is lot of distinction between this desire or the vasanas and the Atman self. They have a lot of similarities too. Which the vasanas or the deep desire forms the source or the seed of one's individual personality. Vasana or the seed, the desire in the seed form, it constitutes our causal body or the Karana Sharira. So that vasanas or the causal body that desires in the seed form, unmanifest form, they produce the other bodies, the subtle body and the gross body. What is the subtle body comprises of? The subtle body comprises our mind and intellect. The gross body houses the sense organs. You know your gross body, that which we have. You know what is all there, but you did not know what was the subtle body. It comprises of our mind and intellect. What is the causal body which causes everything? That is the desires, the vasanas. The desire in the seed form are called vasanas. So now, like similar to the Atman or self, these vasana in the seed forms, the desires in the seed form, they are also unmanifest. Atman is also unmanifest. The deep desires or the desires in the seed form, the vasanas, they are also the causal bodies unmanifest. The senses, mind and intellect are manifest. Being the very cause of the senses, mind and the intellect, what is the cause? The vasanas, the desires in the seed forms, it being the cause of all these, that is the subtle body and the gross body, that is the very cause of senses, mind and intellect. The vasanas or the desires in the seed form cannot be perceived. Can you perceive that vasana, the causal body? No, it cannot be perceived. Because what perceives it? The senses, the mind and the intellect. What is the cause of it? The vasanas, the desires in its unmanifest form or the seed form. So since that is the cause of all these senses, the intellect, the mind, That being the cause, how can they perceive the cause itself? They cannot turn back. Just like the telescope cannot perceive the seer, the weaver, like that. So the intellect, the senses, the mind, they cannot perceive the vasanas, the desires in the seed form. The vasanas or the desires in the seed form do not have the third property of the Atman. What is that third property? What is that which is separating from the Atman or the self? The important thing is they are not unchangeable. Only the self or the Atman or God is unchangeable. This quality distinguishes the Atman or the self from this vasana or the desire in the seed form. Knowing this truth, what is that? This truth about the immutability, that is unchangeableness. Atman is the only thing that is unchangeable, that is within you and that you are. That is God, that is Parabrahma. Knowing the truth that the immutability of self or Atman, Lord Krishna appeals to Arjuna not to grieve at the death. Because you are immutable, you are unchangeable. So there is no question of death to the Atman. That is the thing which distinguishes it from the vasanas, which is the cause of the body, the mind, the intellect. So now Lord Krishna draws a conclusion in this verse, the 25th verse, after giving his deep philosophical view on life and also the nature of our self, the Atman. From now on, that is after the 25th verse until the verse 29, Lord Krishna gives a layman's point of view. The layman's point of view on birth and death. So in the verse 30, Lord Krishna draws the final conclusion that none should grieve for any creature, for anything. You don't have the right to grieve. You should never grieve. You should not be worried. So see, all these verses Krishna is again and again, for any reason, whichever way you look at this world, this body, this universe, there is no reason for you to grieve. Whatever angle you are thinking, whatever perception you may take, whatever way you look at this world or this body, you are not supposed to grieve. You don't have the right to grieve. So do not worry. So now, with this background of the 25th verse, we shall now enter into the 26th verse. Now, in this 26th verse, Lord Krishna is telling, Atachainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tatapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitum arhasi. Again, nainam shochitum arhasi. You don't have the right to grieve. You cannot worry. Do not worry. Krishna is telling again, do not worry. So we shall repeat this verse. That is, whenever you get worry, you go on remembering or chanting this 25th, 26th verse, where he is telling even the 27th verse, he will be telling, do not worry, do not worry. You don't have the right to grieve. So then your worry will go away, because the Lord himself is telling, you don't have the right to grieve, you cannot worry, you should not worry, do not worry. He's telling us again and again. So the 25th verse, 26th verse, 27th verse, you get it by heart, memorize it. Whenever you are into the mode of worry, chant it. Then the worry runs away. So let us chant this 26th verse of the second chapter. Athachainam nityajatam Athachainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam nityam va manyase mritam tathapitvam mahabaho tathapitvam mahabaho nainam shochitumarhasi nainam shochitumarhasi. Atachainam nityajatam nityam va manyasemritam tatapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitumarhasi. The 26th verse, Lord Krishna is telling, but if you think this as constantly being born and constantly dying, that is this, if you think that Atman or the body is permanent, you are the body, you don't want to consider that yourself from the Vedantic view that you are the Atman. If you think this body itself, the external body, the gross body itself is everything, and so you are constantly being born and constantly dying, from the layman's view or the ordinary view, even then, O Mahabaho, O Arjuna, O great strong armed Arjuna, you should not grieve like this, you should not worry. From whatever perspective you look at it, you cannot worry. What is Lord Krishna telling here? Atman, our self, is eternal and immutable. We learnt it. All these from 11th verse to 25th verse. It has neither a beginning nor an end. Nevertheless, the layman, the ordinary man who doesn't have this wisdom, believes that the Atman or this body is born when beings are born and dies when they die. The layman, the ordinary man who doesn't have wisdom, lacks a deeper penetration into the workings of the life. Direct perception alone determines his vision of birth and death and life. The ordinary man perceives the world as nothing but a series of births and deaths, that nothing, including people, exists before birth or after death. Because of the unintelligent attachment to certain people, again I'll repeat that, very important, because of the unintelligent attachment to certain people, the ordinary man, he experiences grief at the death of those people who is attached to. He binds himself mentally to particular individuals in what is called as preferential relationship. Thereafter, he finds himself emotionally dependent on them. The parting or even the thought of parting from those preferential person with relationship, the persons with preferential relationship or whom he has the attachment, even the thought of parting them, or even the parting or even the thought of parting from them, produces in him grief. Arjuna now is suffering from such a predicament. He has an attachment to his relatives and friends. His own unintelligent relationship binds him. The thought of parting from them has brought him immense grief. Lord Krishna appeals to him to understand that he should not grieve at inevitable death. He addresses Arjuna as Mahabaho. Why is he addressing him as Mahabaho? Which means mighty armed one, strong armed one. Mighty armed one means this will remind Arjuna of his strength and valor, so that it will give him psychological prop to his depressed state of mind. So when somebody is in a depressed state of mind, how to wake him up? You have to give him the positive thoughts telling that you are such a strong man, you have such greatness in you. Then that will give him a prop, it will give him strength, he can wake up. Okay, now we will study this verse, that the 26th verse, from another perspective, from another angle. Atachainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tatapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitumarhasi. It's not nainam, it is naivam. Naevam. Naivam shochitumarhasi. This is the 26th verse. If, however, you think that the self is subject to constant birth and death, O mighty armed Arjuna, even then you should not grieve like this. Now, Sri Krishna uses the word atha in this Athachainam. Atha to indicate that Arjuna may want to believe the other explanation that exists about the nature of the self. This verse needs to be understood in the context of the philosophical streams existing in India and their divergent understanding about the nature of the self. Indian philosophy has historically comprised of 12 schools of thought. So we all studied in the last class about that. So many thoughts are there about that. We thought about the Vedic, the thought. There are 6 schools which are supporting the Vedas, who believe in Vedas, and there are some more schools which doesn't believe in Vedas. All those different schools and views we studied. So even if you think from their standpoint too, even then, if you don't believe in Vedanta, if you don't believe in Vedas, you don't think yourself as the Atman, the eternal Atman, from the ordinary point of view too, you don't have the right to grieve. That's what we saw in this 27th verse, in the 26th verse. So we shall now, after studying this 26th verse, we have studied that in detail. We will go to the 27th verse. What is the 27th verse? The 27th verse is Jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyur dhruvam janma mrutasya cha tasmad apariharyerte natvam shochitum arhasi. Now we shall chant this 27th verse. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyuhu. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Blessed Lord told to Arjuna, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyuhu, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyuhu, dhruvam janma mrutasya cha, dhruvam janma mrutasya cha, tasmad apariharyete, natvam shochitumarhasi, natvam shochitumarhasi. Death is certain for one who has been born, and rebirth is certain, inevitable for one who has died. Simple meaning is, death is certain for one who has been born, and rebirth is inevitable for one who has died. Therefore, you should not lament over the inevitable. So you should not lament, you should not worry about the inevitable. So from this standpoint of view, inevitable point of view also, you should not worry. We have heard in the English language the popular idiom. What is that idiom? As sure as death. In this world, there may be many things, or most of the things are unsure. But the only sure thing is death. That's why even in this English language, we have the idiom as sure as death. Now, you all know about Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin said, the only thing certain in life, what is certain? The only thing which is certain in life are death and taxes. Let us now go through the saying of Benjamin Franklin and understand it. Benjamin Franklin said, the only things certain in life are death and taxes. The most certain thing in life is that we will meet with death one day. Psychologists categorize the fear of death as the biggest fear in life. You know, the scientist Benjamin Franklin, he found out that lightning we see in the sky during the rain, I think now it is raining in South Africa. It was also raining in India. So now during that rain, there will be lightning, there will be thunder. So people thought that the gods were angry and they are thundering. And some people also tell that, why is that lightning happening? The gods want to see whether every portion of the earth is wet. So they will put a torchlight to see that all the ground here in the earth is wet. So they put a torchlight and see whether, if it is not wet with rain, they will again pour rain. That is the belief of the children. Nowadays, because of pandemic or the virus, coronavirus, another word has come up. Why everywhere? Usually, the South Africa is in southern hemisphere, below the equator, and India is in the northern hemisphere. So now it is rainy season in India. So rain is over, but it should be otherwise in South Africa. That is, it should be opposite. Kartika Masa, the rain should have stopped, and now the winter has to begin in India. Kartika Masa, after Kartika Masa, it is winter, beginning of winter. But it is heavily raining there in India, in the northern hemisphere, above the equator. Below the equator, here, South Africa also, it is raining heavily. So they have connected it to pandemic. What is that? Coronavirus has even spread to the heavens. So all gods are worried there. The small letter gods, Indra, Chandra, Vayu, Varuna, all the angels are worried that the coronavirus has come to heaven and they may now contract coronavirus and suffer. So they are washing their hands constantly. So because they are washing their hands constantly, that's why there is rain all over the globe. That is also one of the belief. So many such things are seen about everywhere. Now, this Benjamin Franklin, he wanted to prove in experiment that during the rain, it's not gods who are putting on the torch or something as small children believe, but it was electricity, static electricity. So he was the one who did the experiment to put a metallic thing on the kite and then fly it during the rain. And here they could feel the electricity below when there is lightning or something. So Benjamin Franklin found out that it was electricity which was there during the thundering or the lightning. But the next person, another person who tried the experiment, was not so lucky. He had a very heavy electric shock and died. Because lightning, if the lightning, heavy electricity strikes you, you may naturally die. So the experiment was very fatal. So now you can see, understand why Benjamin Franklin said the only thing certain in life are death and taxes. Death is certain. Nobody can survive it. The most certain thing in life is that we will meet with death one day. Everything may be uncertain, but the only certain thing in this life is death. Psychologists categorize the fear of death as the biggest fear in life. So psychologists have categorized the fear of death as the biggest fear in life. Why is it? Now we can understand this through the work of Patanjali Maharshi's Raja Yoga. So Patanjali's Yoga Darshana 2, it is called as, the fear of death is called as Abhinivesha. Abhinivesha, or the instinctive urge to survive at all costs, is mentioned as a trait of the material intellect. But for one who has taken birth, death is inevitable. Why are we having that Abhinivesha, fear of death, all the animals? Because we have undergone so many lives. As in Indian philosophy, they tell that we get the first human life after 8.4 millions of lives. So all those 8.4 millions of lives, or even more than that, we might have got so many births, so many different bodies, and we have died. At the time of death, we have experienced pain and attachment. So that thing, that experience of death is recorded in our mind, it is there. So now it has been transferred from all those lives in the form of fear, abhinivesha, the deep fear of death. Everyone is having that fear of death. So we are so protective, we are so afraid, we have so much of phobias. The reason is abhinivesha, the fear of death. So why? Because it is certain we have been dying Earlier, we had so many lives. All the time we have given up the body and we have died. So all that experience is still continuing, and that memory, that experience is there in us. So that is causing this fear of death, abhinivesha. For one who has taken birth, death is inevitable. That is the reason we have abhinivesha. We have had so many deaths of so many bodies before this life. 8.4 millions, or even maybe double or triple of that. Who knows, quadruple too. So when something is inevitable, death is inevitable, why lament over it? Accept it gracefully. That's what Lord Krishna is telling when said death is certain. That's why he uses a term Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. For the person who is born, death is inevitable. Dhruvam janma mrutasya cha. The person who gives up his body, for him, if he has desires, if he doesn't want to realize God, his own true nature, then he will be born again. So for the person who is born, the death is sure. For a person who has died, birth is again sure. That is what the meaning, simple meaning of this verse, Lord Krishna is telling in the first line of this 27th verse. Tasmat apariharyerte, for that which is inevitable, that's why, for that which is inevitable, natvam shochitum arhasi. You need not grieve for that. That is what Krishna is telling. That is a simple meaning. So we are going into the deeper aspect of it. So when something is inevitable, why lament over it? Why should you grieve? Why should you worry? That is what Lord Krishna is asking you. Do not worry. Now let us go to the story from Mahabharata. It's a wonderful story. It's a famous story. Mahabharata relates an incident regarding this thing about the death incident. During the period of their exile in the forest, one day while wandering, the 5 Pandavas were thirsty and came across a well or a pond of water. So now Bhima went to fetch the water to all of them. He himself wanted to drink. Yudhishthira asked Bhima to go and fetch water for all of them. When Bhima reached that pond, a yaksha, a powerful spirit, a demigod, began speaking from inside. I am the owner of this pond water source. I will only let you take water or drink water if you first answer my questions. Bhima was very strong. He was brave. He didn't care. He didn't bother to heed to that demigod's or yaksha's voice. He proceeded to drink water. So the yaksha killed him or made him unconscious. After some time, since Bhima didn't return, concerned Yudhishthira or Dharmaraya sent Arjuna. The eldest brother Dharmaraya sent Arjuna. Bhima didn't return, so Arjuna went there. He is also a great warrior. Arjuna read that water source, and Yaksha asked him the same question. You should answer my questions, otherwise if you try to drink the water, you will die. Arjuna paid no heed, so he too fell down dead. The other brothers, Nakula and Sahadeva, followed, but met with the same fate. They died. Finally, Yudhishthira, the elder brother, is also called Dharmaraya, the epitome of righteousness, the king of righteousness, Yudhishthira. So himself came to the well. Once again, the demigod, the Yaksha, answer my questions if you want to drink water from the pond, or else I will kill you too. I have killed your 4 brothers. Then Yudhishthira, the eldest of the Pandavas, agreed to answer the question. So that Yaksha, the demigod, was none other than the celestial god of death, Yamaraja, in disguise. So he went on asking 60 questions. And of these questions, so all that 60 questions, Yudhishthira answered very nicely, and they are very famous. They're taken from the Mahabharata as Yaksha Prashne. Yaksha Prashna. Prashna is questions. Yaksha from the demigod. Yaksha Prashna is very, very famous. The questions are very beautiful, and the answer given by Yudhishthira are also very beautiful. So if I go on enumerating the questions and also answering them, I think we may take so many months to answer that. So let us not go to all of them. We will just see what is connected with our subject, that is death. So one of the question in this Yaksha Prashna was Kim Ascharyam. Kimascharyam. What is very surprising? What is the most surprising thing on this earth? Was a question. What is the most surprising thing in this world? Kimascharyam. To which Yudhishthira replied, Ahani ahani bhutani gachantiha yamalayam sheshaha stiratvam icchanti kimascharyam ataha param kimascharyam ataha param. So in Mahabharata, the verse 30. So here, ahani ahani bhutani gachanti iha yamalayam. Every moment we see, every second we see, that too especially during this pandemic or COVID-19, we are seeing people dying everywhere. That was also common earlier too, but now you can see it more. Every moment people are dying. Those who are alive are witnessing this phenomena. Sheshaha, the other people who are alive, they are witnessing. All of us, we are alive now, so we are witnessing. Isn't it? Those people maybe who are not alive may also be witnessing from other lokas too, hearing this lecture. Whatever it might be, they too know. What is that? At every moment people are dying. Those who are alive are witnessing this phenomena. That is, everybody is dying everywhere at every second. And yet, we all of us, though we are seeing people dying everywhere around us, and yet we do not think that one day we will also have to die. We have forgotten that we will also. We are just laugh or we just make fun of people dying around us. We are not at all bothered. We think that we are permanently living here. And yet, even though we are seeing so many deaths happening everywhere around us every time, and yet we think that we forget that one day we also have to die. What can be more astonishing than this? So this was the answer given by Dharmaraya to Yama or that Yaksha, one of the Yaksha Prashna. So Sri Krishna explains this verse that our life, everybody's life is inevitable, is not at all sure. It has to end one day. Whatever you do, how much ever you try, it has to end. But even in spite of that, we want to maintain this body. So that's why Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna. Shri Krishna explains in this verse, that is this 27th verse, life is inescapably a dead end. And so a wise man does not lament over this. So that's why in the 26th verse, Krishna told, Atachainam nityajatam nityam va manyase brutam tatapitvam mahabaho naivam shochitum arhasi. That, and now he is telling, Jatasya dhruvo mrityuho. So a person who is Jatasya means who is born has to die, and a person who is dead will have to take birth again. So when that is sure, why are you lamenting? That which is inevitable, apahar tasmad apariharyerte natvam shochitum arhasi. So jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharyete natvam shochitum arhasi. So the word to word meaning is he, because mrityuhu dhruvaha, death is certain, jatasya, for one who is born, janma dhruvam, and birth is certain, mritasya cha, for one who is dead, tasmat, therefore, tvam, you, arhasina, should not, shochitum, grieve, apariharyerte, over this inevitable fact. So that is the word to word meaning, because death is certain for one who is born and birth is certain for one who is dead. Therefore, Arjuna, You should not grieve over this inevitable fact. So this is one of the important verse in which Lord Krishna gives a very, very practical wisdom. No Vedanta, no Atma Tattva, nothing. It's very practical wisdom. You need not learn any scriptures or Vedanta or something. You need not believe in Atman too. Just some common sense intelligence. You can live happily. With this common sense intelligence, you can live happily. And what is that common sense intelligence? Lord Krishna says, okay, Arjuna, suppose you take that you are the body. Don't worry about the Atman, subtle body, that and this and this and that. Let us think that as you think this is the body, we are the body like every other people, ordinary people, we will think that we are the body. You may not believe in the surviving mind. You may not believing in the surviving Atman. You need not. Suppose we will think that we are all bodies. So then you should learn to understand the nature of the body. So if you don't worry about Atman, if you don't worry about the other aspect, the mind, the subtle body, the causal body, if you are thinking that you are the body, then you should at least, because you think now you are the body, you should know something about the body. So isn't it practical? You should learn something about, you should understand the nature of the body. So you know that you celebrate birthdays, you know the date of birth, so you go on reminding people about your date of birth and you celebrate your birthday. You know that body is born on a particular date because you yourself present the date of birth. In every company, in every school, in everywhere you present your application for anything, you have to present your date of birth, isn't it? So you know when this body was born. Wherever you go, the first thing is date of birth. Whether you join the primary school, you join a company, everywhere, even if you have to marry, they will look at your date of birth. That's very, very important. And from simple common sense experience, do you know what? Jatasya mrutyuhu dhruvaha. Learn to assimilate this. Whatever is born will have to die one day. Whoever is born have to die one day. So if you have a date of birth, then you may not know, but the date of death is also certain. So when we were small children, they used to tell us about people, because children are very much interested in horror stories. So as children, we used to hear this horror story. What was that? Horror joke also. So a person was passing by a graveyard late in the evening, or maybe at about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. It was late. He was passing through that way. In the graveyard, he saw an old man was doing the work of chiseling the graveyard. They put the date of birth and date of death, and they will put the name on the grave. Usually in the cemetery, like Christian cemetery and other places, some sects of Hindus also bury, and they do all those things. They put the photo, they will put the date of birth, they will put the date of death, and the name of that person, everything in detail of the family. They will have chiseled it on a stone or written, painted it or whatever. So now this person, because it was a very well built grave, so he was chiseling on that stone. Then this person was passing by told, why are you working so late? It's already 10 or 11 in the night. Give up your work, go to your house back. You can work tomorrow morning in the daytime. Why are you chiseling, doing this work? You may be a good worker, but should you work so hard at this late hour? Go to your house back and come back tomorrow. Don't work. There may be some ghosts and the other things, and you may be in trouble. Go back to your house. Then the person replied, no, sir. They have put my wrong date of death. They have put the wrong date of death, my wrong date of death on the graveyard. So I'm correcting it, I'm chiseling it and correcting it. That was the ghost of the person which was correcting the date of death there. Then as children we used to be so afraid and laugh and cry and run away. So whenever there is date of birth, there should be also date of death. So that is the common sense knowledge. So we all know that. So that's why Krishna is telling Jatasya Mrityuhu Dhruvaha. We have to assimilate the truth. Whoever or whatever is born will have to die one day. Just because the ostrich will duck its head and it cannot see anything inside the sand when the enemy comes. So it thinks that the whole world has disappeared because it can't see. It has tucked its head into the sand or the mud inside below. It thinks the enemy is not there because it can't see. So simply if we close our eyes to this fact, do you think the facts will change? The world will change? You cannot make the world dark by closing your eyes. That's why anything born is subject to death is proved by 3 pramanas. Perceptions. What are 3 pramanas here? Pratyaksha pramana. You know, there's nothing special to be this thing. Everywhere you are seeing with your eyes. You've studied and everything. So Pratyaksha pramana tells that daily reading the newspaper or everywhere, obituary column. In the newspaper there will be obituary column. Wherever in the TV and everywhere they will be showing that obituary. Somebody or the other is dying. Therefore, I know that there is no difference between the body of that person or the body of this particular, this body that I have. Is there any difference between the person who has died and the body of mine or yours? There's no difference. Or it is the body of my kith and kin, body of my brother or sister, or the body of your wife or children or mother or father. So it is prepared out of Panchabhuta, the 5 elements, Akasha, that is ether, Vayu, air, Agni, fire, Apaha, water, Prithvi, the earth. So the 5 elements. So it is made out of the 5 elements. We know that in one of the Upanishad it is told Akashat Vayuhu Vayor Agnihi Agner Apaha Apa Prithvi Prithivyam Oshadayaha. So all these, our bodies, the trees, the outside world, everything is created by the 5 elements. So my body and your body and everybody's body is created by the 5 elements, by bringing in together the 5 elements. That is called Panchabhuta Shariram. So every body has to disintegrate. That which has come from that, all the 5 elements will go back to its element, so it has to disintegrate. So that is the Pratyaksha Pramana. You know that. Nobody needn't specially explain it to you. That is Pratyaksha. Then there is another Pramana, perception. What is that? Anumana, inference. Inference also tells us whatever has a beginning should necessarily have an end. Kritakam tat anityam. Whatever is a product will have an ending. So you bring a product to your house, it will permanently stay in your house. It has to be broken or it has to be disintegrated, it will get destroyed. So kritakatvam anityam. Whatever is a product will have an end. Therefore, logic also tells me, inference also tells me that whether it is Bhishma's body or Dronacharya's body or Duryodhana's body or anybody's body, everyone will have to die. There will be an end. Okay, if you are not satisfied with pratyaksha pramana and inference also, there is another pramana. What is that? Scriptures. Scriptural pramana, perception. Scriptures also clearly tat yat aiha karmachito loka kshiyate evam eva amutraha punyachito lokaha api kshiyate. What is the meaning of this scriptural statement? Therefore, anything born out of karma, the fruit of actions, whether good karma or bad karma, it will have a beginning and an end. So our body is born out of our karma, both mixture of bad and good karma. And karma, the fruit of action, is like oil. When the oil goes away, when oil is depleted from the lamp, the fire, the flame in the lamp also will go away. Similarly, life is like a lamp which is supported by the oil of our karma. And every day this karma is getting depleted, exhausted. Whether you know it or not, whether you remember it or not, whether you want to remember it or not, Arjuna, this is the fact. Jatasya mrityuhu dhruvam. Meditate on this fact, assimilate this fact. So, and generally we do not mind applying this law with regard to all other peoples. Yeah, we'll be very happy to apply this law to all other people, but not to myself and my kith and kin. So, anywhere there is death, when we read about it or when we come to know, we all behave like great philosophers. So then we will go and advise them, oh, what to do if we are born, death will happen. But when the death happens, or I am going to die, or my kith and kin, then all philosophy and all advice will go away. We will start worrying, we'll start crying. So the philosophy will run away. Why? Because I have not assimilated this fact. Assimilation of law is applying that law in my life. Assimilation of law is applying that law in my own life. And as long as I do not do that, it is only unassimilated knowledge. Just like we read so much in our school, in our colleges, we get degrees, we get master degrees, we get PhDs, we get postdoctorates, and then we don't assimilate even a portion of that knowledge in our life. We have studied something, we work something, we apply something, no connection between what we have studied. So it is just unassimilated knowledge. So unassimilated knowledge is not at all wisdom. What is wisdom? That which you have assimilated and you have made it practical, use it for good. That is wisdom, for higher purpose. Therefore, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, Jatasya mrityuhu dhruvam. So dhruvam means certain, inevitable. Whoever is born has to die, Krishna is telling. Definite. Nothing, you cannot escape. And that is why you will find so many stories in the Puranas, in our scriptures, in our Puranas, that so many demons, the Rakshasas, they did so much of austerities. So the general trend of all these Asuric stories or the demon stories, whether it may be Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Ravana, Bhasmasura, Kumbhakarna, all these Rakshasas are demons. They will do very sincere and serious austerity, tapasya. And then Brahma, Chaturmukha Brahma, the creator, will appear. Then he will ask them, what boon do you want? And immediately the boon they ask is, they don't want death. Then immediately when they blurt out that, I want a boon that I will not die. And again Brahma also will immediately reply. What will Brahma tell? That is not possible. That is not the general trend. In my creation, whoever is born has to die. So thereafterwards, that demons They try to get immortality by deceiving Brahma himself. They will ask so many peculiar kind of boons that they should not get death. So they ask very peculiar thing. Hiranya Kashyapu had asked peculiar boon. I should not be born during the daytime or the night time. I should not be born by the. I should not die by the in the daytime or the night time. I should not die by the weapons. I should not die inside the house, outside the house. I should not die by animal or man or gods. So like that, so many peculiar boons he had asked. But the Lord took a very peculiar form of Narasimha, and also he told not above or below, it should not be on the earth or in the netherworlds. So he kept that his body, Hiranyakashipu's, on his lap. It should not be weapons, so with his nails, sharp nail of the lion. Then the Lord took the form of neither an animal or a man, so it was Narasimha, lion man. So it was not inside, outside, so it was on the threshold of the house. So like that, whatever boon he had asked, so the Lord came in such a form that everything was neutralized. So all the demons or the Rakshasas had such a death, even though they had asked very peculiar boons that they should not get a death. So wherever you see, that is the thing. So there will be some loophole and you will have to die. All the demons died. So now you can see, even amongst our Trimurtis, the Lord has taken three forms. Brahma, Chaturmukha Brahma is a creator. Lord Vishnu is a sustainer. And Lord Shiva will do the dissolution. So they are so thoughtful. So you can see there too, creation, sustenance, and destruction. So even this whole universe will have to undergo destruction. It will die. So if that is the case with this whole universe, what about this body? So whichever Purana you take, scriptures you take, you cannot escape death. Even the avatar Purushas, even when the Lord himself takes the body, the same story. Only you give a different name. What will you tell Rama avatar or Krishna avatar or any other avatar? You celebrate the date of arrival, that is Jayanti. And there will be date of departure too. Only thing, you will give a very nice name, Swargarohana, Vaikuntha-rohana or Kailasa-rohana or whatever, you will give a very good name or Swargarohana. So if it is Avatara or if it is a great saint or sannyasi, you will tell he got Samadhi, Mahasamadhi. You will not tell death, that's all. You will change the name, but it is death only. You may change the language, you may change the names, the words, but the fact remains that the physical body will have to go. There is no escape. And therefore, Jatasya Dhruvam Mrityuhu. The other side of the coin is Dhruvam Janma Mritasya Cha. After birth, you have to die, and if after death, there will be again birth. Death is never the end of the life. This is unique to our religion. But in other religions, they think that with death, everything is gone. So they'll be waiting in the grave. That's why, see, in Hinduism, most of the time they burn off the body. They don't preserve the body. But in other religions, they think that the body should be preserved. So a day of judgment will come. The Lord will separate the people who have committed sins and send them to eternal hell. And the other people, the good people, will be sent to eternal heaven. So that is a concept. That's why they will bury and they will try to preserve the body. But in Hinduism, it is not so. Again, we will have rebirth until we realize our true nature, that is, we are one with God. So you have many chances here. So again, once you are once you are dead, you will get again the birth. So they will burn off the body. What is the use of the body? Body is temporary, so they will burn the body. That is only in Hinduism. So now birth is certain if you die. So, in spite of that, if this is the case, why should you worry? Even in that case, a person who is born should die, and a person who dies will have birth. Even in that case, Arjuna, if you know this much, the inevitability, tasmat apariharyate, which cannot be changed, which is not in our hand, which is choiceless situation. You don't have any choice here. So then you have to accept it. You have to surrender to the will of the Lord. You have to accept whatever is there. That is apariharyate. Tasmat apariharyate, which is inevitable, which is choiceless. Then natvam shochitam arhasi. You should not worry over that. Surrender. Accept it happily. That's what Lord Krishna is telling. There is something left a little more to explain about this verse. I'll try to explain about it in the next class. I don't know whether, next Saturday, we will be continuing with the class. But after that, there will be holiday for some time. There will be no classes because everything will close here in South Africa for Christmas. So no work will happen during Christmas here. So for more than 1 month or so, there will be no classes happening. So we will see. We will meet again after that. I think there will be one more class. Saturday, the Wednesday class, Bhagavad Gita and everything. There will be one more class. Then after that, there will be a long holiday. So we will meet again in the next class on Saturday. We will continue the same verse, and also we may go to the next verse too, the 28th verse. So now we will end our class discussion here. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts about this, if you have typed any question in the live chat, we can go through that. Implies that when someone dies naturally, here Arjuna has to bring death and cause death. How does Krishna justify rightful violence? It's not bringing death. The other party has also come to fight for the cause of unrighteousness, but Arjuna has to fight for the sake of the righteousness. Just like if somebody attacks your country, your nation, the soldier has to go and fight and protect the country, risking his life. He will kill the terrorist, he will kill the wrongdoers, or the policeman will kill the violent people. So that is not that justification there. It is not justifying. So he has to do his duty as a soldier. Arjuna was a soldier. He was a kshatriya. He had to protect the people, the common man, the country from the unrighteous people. So wherever death is certain, whether it is in the fight or in the accident or in the disease or anything, we are talking about death. So there is nothing to worry. As a soldier, he has to fight. There is nothing to worry. Then how will he protect? Otherwise the unrighteous and the terrorist will come and kill all the other people. Then also there will be death. The good people will die. So Arjuna had to do that. That's why even from the common point of view or from the philosophical point of view, he has to fight. That's what Krishna, through teaching Arjuna, is also teaching us about the immortality of the soul. Arjuna was not enlightened while he was in the war. Will the killing of his kin not lead to accumulation of papam? That's why he is giving the idea. If you do anything with attachment, then that will lead to attachment and aversion. That's why in the 65th verse we were discussing about ragadvesha viyuktaistu. We get attached. When we do anything, the karma, papa or punya will come to us if we do with attachment. If we do not do our work for the fruit of action, the phala, karma phala, then the karma phala will not stick to us. If we do it as an offering to the Lord, if we do the work, the karmas, whatever, now he is fighting the battle. So if he does that as a offering to the Lord, to please the Lord, to protect the people, the good people, righteous people, as an offering to the Lord, then since he has offered that, he is not aspiring for any fruits of action from that. There is no selfish end. He is sacrificing his life. It is just like the soldier. If he goes to the battlefront and kill 100 people, he will be given gallantry award. But the same soldier with the same gun kills a person in his own neighborhood for the sake of property because it is selfish, he will be jailed for that. Similarly, he is doing it not for his selfish gain, but for the sake of the country and protecting other people. So the Papa will not touch him. That's why Krishna is giving us the technique that whatever karmas you do, if you don't have attachment, if you are not doing it for the fruit of action, the karma phala, the Papa and Punya will not stick onto you. Since Hanuman is believed to be alive, is it punishment? He has no moksha despite having served Sri Rama. Because you have a very wrong conception of moksha. Moksha means liberation, eternal liberation, freedom. So even while you are living in this body, you can get Jivan Mukti. You can be free even while living in this body, not only after death. So who told that Hanuman is not got moksha? He has got moksha. He is the Lord. He has become the Lord himself because of his good deeds. He has become the Lord himself. We worship him. He is not in bandhana. He is free, always free. So there is no question of punishment. For us, it is punishment because we have so many desires. We will suffer. Hanuman doesn't have any other thing that Rama. Meditation on Rama, he is liberated. He himself has become one with Rama and he is worshipped as God. So he is already liberated. In his life, he was liberated. And that's called Jivan Mukti. Liberated while living. Even ordinary human beings like you and me also can become Jivan Mukta. Not only Hanuman, even Markandeya is the Chiranjeevi. But for Ashwatthama, it was a curse. So for him, it is a punishment. Ashwatthama is in punishment. It is not liberation. He is in punishment because he had not realized his true self. But Hanuman himself is a god, and there is no need for moksha at all. He is ever liberated. Then no more questions, I think. Okay, we will end our discussion of Bhagavad Gita today with the chanting of one of the verses from the meditation of Bhagavad Gita. Om Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.